in the den of iniquity. Vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment. What's a pity? Tomorrow never certain. What dwells behind the curtain? The face of evil lurking with the shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble that either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble. Let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso. Cannon could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make me get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, run, come, make me get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners. Go. Run, 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 make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. Run for the hills, let the will lead the mind. For living is the thrill with the doubt left behind. Amidst all the wicked, there is beauty to behold. Be fearless and intrepid from the depths of our soul. The hands of the steady cleave the rose from the thorn. The sweat of the weary brings us closer to the dawn. The motion of the wheel brings the light to the mind. In the line, it's divine. Run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling on your daughters and your sons, they come forget it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, come, make we get it. Calling on your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. Run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. Run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it.
Test. Expand. Expand your horizons. This is a cliche statement that appeals to our sense of life, to our sense of adventure, our sense of growth and excitement. It just altogether feels right. Why contract your horizons? Horizons represents opportunities. Hence, it is a great marketing slogan, but why? Why? How do we make it actionable? We need to ask a few questions. Why should we expand? What are we expanding and what are we expanding into? How do we make this into something which is more than just a cool marketing ploy? Something that is just a great thing to tell somebody. Well, you need to expand your horizons. Ha ha ha. And walk away. How do we make it actionable again? How do we make it actionable? How do we measure this expansion? What are we expanding? Where are we expanding into? And why should we do this? How can we take any of this seriously? Good evening for those of you watching live, but good day, good day, good day. Welcome, 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 ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my channel. My name is Ike Okiame, and I am your host. And over here, we talk about being better and doing better with information presented in a very simple, measurable, actionable, intuitive way to the degree to which it is possible. And today, what are we doing? Okay, we have a strong emphasis on doing over here. What are we doing? Today, we are making this concept of expanding your horizons into something that is more solid, something that is more actionable, something that has some parameters to it, something that we can measure, something that we can understand. So before we get right into it, let me go ahead and check out what you guys are doing over here in the chat. Well, I see we already have a super chat. We already have a super chat. Jostin in the house, Jostin in the house, Jostin in the house. Shout out to you. Shout out to you. Thank you very much for the $10 super chat. Let me go ahead and open up the correct tab here so that I can go ahead and share. Place on the screen. Give acknowledgement to your contribution, which is always welcome. Shout out to K Coach in the house, Shozen in the house. Bro Truth in this B-I-H. Yes. Dr. Thunder. The honorable chat whipping the chat into action. Felicia in the house. Always nice to see you here, Felicia. Roots rock reggae. Give me the roots rock reggae. Roots reggae girl in the house says greetings all. Kaizo. Kaizo says, I will expand beyond the sights. We gonna get it. So why should we expand? Okay, these are questions that are simple. That is the point of this channel. We keep things simple so that they can become actionable, so that it's not just amorphous floating cliches in the air, whereby we can just lull ourselves into sleep, not take action, not measure, not grow, not achieve our ends, which at the end of the day makes us not happy. We're not happy. Shout out to Mr. Quinton or Dr. Quinton. He was bestowed his honorary, that is, doctorate degree. And of course, we have the infamous $5 monarch in the house, a $5 monarch in the house. Snuggles, as Bernard Riley would say. Says, hi, I don't care what they say about you because you're okay with me. Now let the mental gymnastics begin. Okay, so let me go ahead and share something. Let me share this in this way. Bam, right there. Expand your horizons. We're going to break it down as to why and what we need to expand. It is going to be very much in line with a lot of the intuitive ideas we have developed in this channel before. So let's get right into it. Like to keep these things more concise. I have a penchant for being long-winded, okay, as you guys know, and you guys will forgive me for that. So I'm trying my best to keep things concise. Let's get into it. Why should we expand? Well, the first and underlying principle is, expand or die, which is basically one of our operating principles in this channel. Everything that we talk about has to do with use it or lose it. Okay? We can put it within the context of a hunter-gatherer or some kind of nomadic society. Basically, you need to go to greener pasture. You need to find new orchards with lower hanging fruit. You need to rotate. You need to move around because you have expended the resources in this particular area. I'm talking about how we have indeed evolved. This is why the concept of expansion and excitement and adventure is appealing to us, because it is closely tied to our survival. Let me get a 1 in the chat if we understand it from this angle. 2 angles here being presented, which are very simple, very intuitive. We talk about it just about in every video. The first angle is use it or lose it, right? In other words, you need to push, you need to push, you need to push. Okay? The muscles. You need to push the mind, you need to push the networks, you need to push the skills, you need to push the immune system, you need to push the bones. Otherwise, they atrophy and die. Same thing with the resources, the land. You need to go out there, you need to venture out there, okay? When you have hunted all the antelopes in this particular area, well, are you just going to stay there and die? Right? No, you got to expand. You know, and the passport brothers will understand this. You know, they go out there and they expand. They go looking for greener pasture elsewhere, right? They go participate in a different market, a different sexual marketplace market, or shall I say sexual marketplace, or a marriage marketplace, or whatever the hell it might be. Expand or die. That's the basic reason why. Okay, now. Another reason is this. Given the fact that electricity got invented at some point, right? Some time ago, there was a whole kind of cascading set of dominoes that were set into motion, leading us to this place of connectivity and global competition. In other words, you cannot just stay within your little local, provincial neighborhood, your street corner, and say, you know what? I'm good with my hierarchy over here. No. The hierarchies are now global. You are competing with the Indians and the Chinese and the Africans and everybody else. Okay. Therefore, as a result of technological and economic changes, okay, global trade, so on and so forth, the technological aspect is quite obvious. We have people listening to my voice over here from all over the world. Right? Hence, the expansion. Should have done that. Hence, the expansion is something that is more necessary for just your basic competition, for basic economic competition. It is now the case that you do need to expand those horizons. We're talking about why right now. Later, we're going to talk about the particular parameters. What are we expanding? What do we need to expand? Shout out to Wise Swift in the house. What do we need to expand? But why do we expand? Expand or die. We get it. We get that part. It's a use it or lose it type of construct. It is also about the way we have evolved, find greener pasture, go to a more fruitful hunting land, if you will. But we need to go out there. Otherwise, we're not going to survive. Those of us who went out there and were successful indeed did survive, right? So global connectivity and competition makes it such that even if you wanted to stay back, okay, no, you don't have that choice anymore. You do not have that choice anymore. Okay. Expel provincial mindset. Now, this is the one where it's a little vague. What do I mean by that? People always tell you to expand your mind, man, and things like that. You know, expand your mind, expand your mindset, and so on and so forth. But that's not actionable. It's not measurable. What parameters do I need to expand? Expand my mind? What does that mean? You know, going there with a crowbar and, into my skull, expand the room so the brain can grow into the skull cavity. Force myself to think outside the box. Well, over here, we understand that whole outside the box thing is a little bit of a red herring, or, well, so it is hard to do it in an abstract way, but there are actual things that you can do in real life, real time. You can see and measure that will take you out of your provincial mind state. And we will talk about the ways in which it does take you out of this kind of a provincial mind state and put you in a more global setting where you're looking at global parameters, global problems, and global solutions that are not localized and are hence more effective. Shout out to Red Sings the Blues donation. My dude, he says. Aitwa in the house says, expanding your mind will broaden your horizons. Yes. You see, but people like Aitwa, they like to say things like that because they have certain advantages. But how do you expand your mind? How? You go read books, you attend seminars, blah, 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 blah. Right? You can listen to my videos on meditation, for example, and that's a start, but let's make it even more simple than that, more actionable than that. All right? Indeed. So we're beginning to get the reasons why we need to do this. Okay? Dr. Mad, Dr. Mad says, hey, Ike, call to order. Stop using these words, okay? Without defining them. And because I know that if I go ahead and define it by myself, I'm going to use other words like parochial, or, that I also need to define. Basically, I'm talking about getting out of the little street corner, getting out of your little local situation. And in order to kind of perhaps do it more justice, okay, I'm going to go ahead and go to Google, okay? What exactly do I mean when I say get out of that provincial mindset? All right, let me go ahead and share something here. I shall share. And thank you very much, Dr. Mad. Thank you very much for calling me to order there. So, as I said, provincial generally means the province, okay? The province, the local area. It's a small area. It's not the city capital and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's see, okay? Of or concerning a province of a county or empire, okay? Concerning regions outside the capital city, so on and so forth, okay? It's an inhibitant of a province or county, okay, so basically what I'm talking about is a local kind of thing. Get out of that kind of local mindset. Get out of the mindset of, in the hood, in my neighborhood, in my state. This is how I was raised, in my family, in my bloodline. Get out of that. That's what I mean by provincial. Let me get a 1 in the chat, okay, including from Dr. Mad, if this suffices as a good enough working definition such that we can generalize from there. Please let me get a 1 in the chat if that works, okay? Provincial, literally coming from province, meaning some kind of small little area, okay? Not cosmopolitan will be the opposite, okay? There is a mindset that goes along with being a provincial type of person, okay? I see 1s in the chat, so thank you. And yes, feel free to call me to order anytime I'm doing things like this. And I will then make sure that I adjust for the future such that when I use certain kinds of words, I make sure that I have definitions for them. And define the context within which it is relevant to the topic. Okay? So this expelling of this provincial mindset will lead you to find global solutions. Okay? Because if you're stuck in the provincial mindset and you have a problem and you guys only have one way of solving it, okay? It says, oh, over here, whenever we run out of hunting or whenever we run out of antelopes to hunt, we start doing this kind of a sharing thing where we start limiting more and more the allotment, if you will, of the families. Everyone starts eating less and less, and we go pray to the gods or so on and so forth. But when you get out of the provincial mindset, you're going to be like, okay, well, this is a problem of resources, okay? It is a global problem. It doesn't have anything to do with our particular gods per se, okay? Or we don't have to restrict ourselves to the particular ways in which we've solved it in the past. Let's generalize. Let's abstract the problem. Let's look at it from a global conceptual level so that we can find global problems, such as just move to a place where there's antelopes, right? Or just change the modes of operation in a general way. You find global solutions, okay? You recognize global patterns. You don't just say, oh, this is a localized problem. No. you can say, well, this is what happens everywhere when you overhunt the land. This is what happens everywhere when you don't practice bush fallowing, which is basically kind of crop rotation, for example, or that kind of a thing, where you do not allow the soil to regain its nutrients. Okay? This is true of everywhere. I don't care if we're here or there, or if we had this kind of ancestors or that kind of a culture, so on and so forth. Getting out of the provincial mindset would allow you to see global patterns, therefore, look at the solution from a global way. These things are not obvious. You may not know the many ways in which you're being provincial. The many, many emotional blocks that we put in front of ourselves, okay? And then you expand your targets and your potential, okay? So we've generally just stated the reasons why we need to do this, the reasons why we need to expand, the reasons why. And then from this, we can see exactly what we are expanding, where we are going to be expanding into. Okay? Shout out to the Goldie Jones channel. Shout out to the Goldie Jones channel. Yes, 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 yes. And she gave a definition over there. It says, provincial of or concerning a province or region is meaning, unsophisticated or narrow, right? Narrow-minded indeed. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, so we're going to keep it simple now and talk about what exactly is it that we need to expand in order to get these particular benefits. These are the benefits that we're saying, okay? These are the benefits, and these are some of the pitfalls. The pitfalls is you're going to be provincial. The pitfalls is you cannot compete globally, and you don't have the choice but to compete globally because of the globalization. The pitfall is you are going to die, ladies and gentlemen. So let's now just talk about the things that you can expand and how you go about doing it in a more granular fashion. Okay, and let me know if any of this makes sense. So what and where to expand into? Expand your networks, okay? If you're the kind of person who only hangs out with one type of person, okay? You do the whole high school cafeteria thing. I only hang out with this type. I only hang out with the jocks, the nerds, only the American-born Chinese. I don't hang out with the fobs. No offense to anyone, okay, but I don't hang out with people with accents. I don't do this, I don't do that kind of thing. You need to expand your networks, and you need to do this actively. You need to go places where people would not expect you to go, right? You need to go places where people will not expect you to go. You guys know what I mean. You guys know what I mean exactly. You guys know what I mean. And what does this do for you? Okay? What does this do for you exactly? How are some of the ways in which you kind of think that this kind of expansion will give you some of the benefits that we mentioned? Okay? How? Remember the benefits, right? You expand or die, global connectivity, expel, provincial. This particular one definitely helps you to get rid of that provincial mindset. Because guess what? You are going to be able to recognize global patterns because you're going to, in talking to these different kinds of people, you're going to see similarities, right? Let me get a one in the chat. This is very simple, okay? There's nothing complicated here. One of the first things that you gain by expanding your networks, by saying, okay, I'm this type of a person, I tend to attract this type, but I'm going to actively turn around and go talk to that other kind of person, see what they're about, see when they wake up, what they eat, where they go, how they celebrate, right? Maybe I'll go to a Thanksgiving ceremony, or let's see how the Mexicans celebrate Thanksgiving. I'm going to go hang out with the Koreans for Christmas. You know what? I'm going to go leave the Baptist, African American church for one Sunday and go to a Korean church. See what they do. You're going to find out, the same kinds of problems that we have in the African American Baptist church, I see them in the Korean church. How do they solve it over there? Therefore, it's not a question of parochial and provincial type of solutions that you're thinking about. Like, well, not parochial. You're going to be able to find these global patterns and see, hey, there are similarities here, similar ways to solve them. Okay, you're going to see that, hey, there is something as a universal standard of competence. So that if, let's say, for example, you're an African American and when you do certain things, everyone tells you you're acting white, right? You're like, oh, if I carry a backpack, if I speak in a certain way, if I carry myself in a certain way, if I wear a business suit, oh, well, you're acting white, right? That is a provincial mindset. But when you go out and hang with the Vietnamese and the Caribbeans and the Nigerians and the Koreans, you're going to see, oh, there is this kind of a standard that they have, and it has nothing to do with white people. Am I getting through to somebody here? Okay? Because this is a big problem that a lot of people have. When you are stuck in your provincial mindset, when you're stuck within your provincial little problems, when you have race stuck in the brain, and race is a black and white thing, which tends to be an issue with a lot of Americans. No, this is no judgment over here, okay? But this is about making things actionable, okay? When you have seen that many different communities do different things, you're going to be able to recognize certain patterns that these standards cut across. That these are not the white man standards, the blue man standards, the green man standards. These are just the standards that have been recognized to work, giving the particulars of the technological, economic, and social construct that we live in the present time. That this is what works. But if you're stuck in a corner in the hood, all you think of is black and white. And that doesn't work. That does not work. Ladies and gentlemen, and I see another super chat, which is very, very much appreciated. The Roger Report. Look, Roger Report over here, dropping $10 super chat. Thank you very much. You guys should go check out his channel for sure. I am sure you guys are already quite familiar with the Roger Report. Thank you very much. Whitewashed, yes. Whitewashed. Young Swift out there doing his thing. Snuggle says, Ike, do you understand what you're saying? Get the likes up, share the video, ladies and gentlemen. Let us get into this. Let us understand how we get out of the provincial mindset. Let us get the benefits of having a globalized view of problems so we can find globalized solutions and start sounding like little village people, okay? So the first way to do this is expand your network. What does that mean? I don't want us to go out of here and just feel, like feel good, kumbaya, that kind of a thing. We want to really understand what exactly we are talking about. I seem to be getting a phone call. So, quite actively expanding your horizons, okay? By number one, expanding your network, okay? And this is something that you can actively do by saying, hey, I'm just going to go ahead. Let's say I'm an engineer, right? I'm an engineer and I'm a member of the American Association of Civil Engineers, okay? The Society of Structural Engineers, Orange County chapter, whatever. And every month we attend this type of, dinner event. You can turn around and be like, hey, what at least is adjacent to that? Let me go join the association of, HVAC contractors and electricians. You get the picture? And then alternate month to month where you show up at. You're going to hang out with more blue collar types. Okay? If you're a church going person, you're going to go from the church of your community, go to another kind of church in another kind of community. If you're used to spending Thanksgiving or Christmas in only one kind of culture, cultivate friends actively, co-workers or whomever, and say, hey, go over there, go to their cookouts, right? Because you guys are obsessed with your cookouts. Well, go to somewhere else's cookout. Try to blend in there. Try to make friends over there. Try to listen and learn. It'll expand your mind. All right? Because I want to keep it actionable. Not just, oh, yeah, that makes sense. I need to expand my. It's like, okay, we already know the benefits. The benefits are expand or die. The benefits are we need to do this in a global competitive environment. There's global connectivity and so on and so forth. The benefits are that being provincial is not good. Being narrow-minded is not good. Okay? But how do we actually do this? And we're saying that first things first, we need to expand our networks because with this, we will be able to now see the global patterns and be able to find global solutions to our problems. Okay? It takes out all the venom, the piss and vinegar, as some people say, out of our kind of communities type discussions. Discussions about problems in the community. Discussions about solutions to those problems in the community. When you recognize that it's a global pattern, then you just say, hey, you know what? It's not that crazy. There's no need to point fingers anymore. Let's just solve it the way everyone else tends to solve it, right? It is that simple, ladies and gentlemen. It is that simple. So expand, okay, your digital and economic footprint. Expand your geographical footprint. And we're going to go into these three. Okay, the first one we already took a little deep dive into, and we're not going to spend much more time into that, but I wanted to just highlight that point because it is one of the easiest ones and one of the most intuitively understood ones, which is, hey, if I start rubbing shoulders with different kinds of people, I'm going to see things from their point of view. I'm going to experience different kinds of things, and I'm going to be able to abstract from that similar problems. I'm going to notice more similarities than differences. I'm going to stop saying, oh, when I do this kind of a thing, it's a white thing or a black thing or a blue thing or a red thing. I'm going to be able to start recognizing patterns of competence and patterns of pragmatism. In other words, things that actually work, whether it's in this society, this culture, this group, and so on, and so on, and so on. Okay? So, three things to keep it simple that we're going to be expand. What and where to expand into. We're talking about networks. This is group, associations, affiliations, and so on and so forth. And then our digital and economic footprint. We'll get into what that means. And then expand, our geographical footprint. That one is quite simple. And we're doing all this so that we can get these benefits, okay? Because it is imperative to life, okay, to find greener pasture. It is imperative to a global connected world to be able to compete economically and so on and so forth, to expel that provincial mindset and also to expand our targets and our potential. That is why cultural and lifestyle diversity in order to learn universal patterns is basically what we were talking about when we looked at the first point. Okay? That is exactly what we were talking about. Breadth, meaning variety of occupations and fields. Depth, meaning people who are occupying high positions in very complex systems. Okay? High positions, and also at your level, slightly above and very high. Okay, you need to have variation in your network vis-a-vis this breadth and the depth. And I gave very simple examples, like you're part of some kind of association of white collar folk. Go join associations of blue collar folk. They could be in the same industry. That way it's not so far flung. But you're going to meet different kinds of people, see different kinds of ways of being. You're going to be less provincial. Because I don't care how sophisticated you may think you are, you might still be provincial in your penthouse kind of way, right? Shout out, shout out, shout out to you. So, basically, here is something else, okay? Because the first point has to do with that provincial mindset. This second point has to do more with global connectivity, economic competition, commerce, and survival in general, okay? Again, we defined the why. We defined the why landscape. And we're kind of broken down into several kinds of things. One having to do with mindset. The other one has to do with like survival, competition, the landscape of the economy, and so on and so forth. Obviously, these things tend to interrelate, okay? But the first point here about expanding your networks, cultural and lifestyle diversity, so that you can learn universal patterns and then find universal solutions. Understand that standards are universal and not a black and white thing, and so on and so on and so on and so on, right? That wearing a suit, for example, doesn't make you one kind of a person or another. That's just kind of how the business language tends to work. From community to community to community to community. Right? This other aspect, which is it's about who knows you, not who you know. Okay? This is something that has to do with competition and marketing. You might, does it really matter that you know Jeff Bezos? Let me get a 1 in the chat if you already see where we're going with this. Okay? The expansion has to do with you expanding. Okay? You expanding. You being known. Because everybody knows of Jeff Bezos. Everybody knows of Bill Gates. But it's about whether they know you. Now, obviously, these are extremes, right? But the extreme gets the point, and that's why I see 1s in the chat, right? You want to be known. You want to go out there, and you want to take a stance. It also relates with what we talked about in the last stream, or 2 streams ago, which is being above board. You need to control the narrative. You need to control the narrative. You need to make sure that somehow, some way, especially in this particular landscape of social media, and everybody already has some kind of a footprint out there. Okay? Everyone has some kind of a digital footprint out there. You need to go out there and be known. If I don't know you, I can't flow you. I can't put money in your bank account. I can't give you advice. I cannot give you connections. I can't bring you into my network simply because you know me. It is best to be known. It's best to have a reputation that precedes you, and so on and so forth. Go back and watch that video about staying above board. We went into depth as to how you can do this and how this actually forms concentric circles of insulation, of shielding against controversy, and so on and so forth. But basically, expand your networks because it's about who knows you, not necessarily who you know. And the last part, monkey see, monkey do. We are creatures, not just of habit, but more fundamentally, we are creatures of copying. We copy everyone. This is what we do. Shout out to Soul Provider Speaks. He speaks. He speaks. Soul Provider Speaks in the house. Shout out to you. Check out his channel. He's serving out nerd pills on the regular. Exactly. Become known for something. Become known. Okay? Let's say you're working within an organization. Don't go around trying to take everybody to lunch. It doesn't matter. It's not powerful. It's not effective because you're not the only one that can take other people to lunch. It is better if people just know you organically through word of mouth because you are highly competent, because you always do what people ask for because you are known as someone who keeps their word. You keep the customer happy. You keep the sales department happy. You keep the accounting department happy. Everybody loves you. Your clients, from the foreman all the way to the president of the company, everybody knows that when you call Ike, when he picks up the phone, when you send him an email, he will send you the information that he needs. This is how you build solid reputation, not by slapping backs, taking people out to lunch, and so on and so forth. That other kind tends to take more time. What I just said, in other words, it takes more time out of your day. The other one, which I'm saying is more effective, which is you just having a reputation that precedes you, having other people talk about you rather than you talk about yourself. It takes longer to build, but it's way more solid, and it takes less time out of your day. Okay, let me get a one in the chat if you understand that it takes less time out of your day to build a solid reputation via competence than for you to go out, schmoozing with everybody. Schmoozing with everybody, you think, oh yeah, I got him, right? But it's not solid, and it's taking time out of your day. Okay, what's more solid is if you don't have to go anywhere with anybody, but everybody says, oh, Young Swift, you talked. Oh yeah, Young Swift, don't worry about it. Young Swift has got it. Okay. The foreman says Young Swift has it. The superintendent says Young Swift has got it. Okay. The president of the company walks by. Listen to the accounting department. They say Young Swift, they got it. So you don't have to waste your time taking the president and the foreman and all these other people to lunch and doing this and that and the other, because you simply demonstrate your competence. You do what you said you're going to do. You have a great reputation, and that is how you solidify that being known. Okay, because you know the president of the company, but does he know you? And the best way for him to know you is this organic spread of your reputation. And I see ones in the chat. So, moving a little bit further to the very last point, which is monkey see, monkey do. Okay, you want to expand your horizons for the reasons that we said earlier. You need to survive. You need to compete in the economic global landscape. You need to get rid of that provincial mindset, the narrow mindset, the mindset that does not allow you to see global patterns and find global solutions to problems. Okay. One way to do it, expand your networks. And the last point that we're making here is that monkey see, monkey do. Okay. This is basically the point of people say things like, well, you are an average of the 5 people you hang around with. Show me your friends and I will show you who you are. Well, those things are cliches, they're bromides, they're little things that we say to each other and so on and so on and so on. However, what is the mechanism by which this works? What I'm saying is, look, you cannot help but copy people around you. Some of us have a stronger center than others, okay? But no matter how intrinsically motivated, crazy, wacko outlier you are, you still cannot help but copy people. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, do you understand what I'm saying? You cannot help it. I'm not talking about, oh, well, it's not an active process of you learning from this person. You will literally just start mimicking them. It just happens. That's why people in relationships tend to start having the same kind of mannerisms and facial expressions. They actually start looking like each other. Old married couples start looking like each other because they start moving their faces in the same way. This is how we operate as human beings, okay? Exactly, birds of a feather. But basically, what is the mechanism? The mechanism is from unconscious copying. So if you're copying, if you keep the people whom you're around, okay, you keep them within a particular narrow band. Okay, I only hang out with this kind of people, and we just copy each other, copy. Echo chamber is another way, right? And that has to do more with ideas and such. You listen to the news, the next day you're repeating what the news says. This is not because you're a bad person. This is just human beings. This is how we are. You just repeat the arguments from the newspaper, from the magazines, from your lecturer, from your friends, as though you came up with it. That's how we are. We cannot help but do that, okay? We all walk out of the house with pants on. Okay? Young Swift, why do you wear pants? Why don't you just walk out, let it all hang out? Is there a law of God somewhere that says you have to do that? Okay? Aren't there cultures still up to this day that don't wear pants? Why do you wear pants? It's because you got to copy everybody, because there's something strong in you that says, if I don't copy, right? You cannot help it. Hence, this kind of expansion that we're talking about, how do we make it actionable? How do we make it beyond something that's just a simple marketing ploy, such as expand your horizons? You need to expand your network, expand your mind, expand. How do you actually do it? Well, the way to do it is to simply have variety in the kinds of people that you associate with, and the rest almost happens automatically. Yes, pants game. That's See, I got pants on. Dr. Thunder. Yeah, the pandemic joke, of course. The newscasters not wearing pants. Not wearing a belt though. Usually the belt game is on point, but I was like, I don't really need to wear a belt this time, do I? Do I need to wear a belt? But the point is clear, right? We get the point. I see LOLs, so we must get the point. So this very first aspect that gives us the benefits that we enumerated earlier is about expanding your networks, okay? Expanding your networks. Now, you want to expand your digital footprint. This is not going to be a long one, okay? This is a simple one. I'm trying to keep things concise. Expand your digital and economic footprint. Go to Google and try to find out which country you can open a bank account in. Look, we are in this era of connectivity, okay? This does a couple of things. This definitely does that thing whereby you are now opening yourself up to a larger market. Okay, but this is the first step. I'm trying to keep it simple. If I just told you, hey, you know what? Get into the Forex game and look into properties in Georgia. The country in Europe, Georgia. Yeah. Actually, it's cheap and you can buy this property over here. You could do this and do that. You could get, you don't need to get citizenship, but if you invest $10,000 in this bank, then, but it's like, that's a little bit too much, too many steps already. But we're trying to take step one over here. You're trying to take step one. Step one. Okay, and this expansion of digital and economic footprint is more in line with the benefit of competition. Okay, it'll also get you out of that provincial mindset as well. So what I mean is this: it could be Mexico, it could be the Bahamas, it could be Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, I know, is still a state, quote unquote, but maybe you might get some tax benefits from having a bank account over there. But basically, what am I saying? I'm saying, look. Try to find a place where you can open up an international bank account. Well, don't get freaked out by it. You can transfer money over there, right? Open up a bank account does not require you to have hundreds of thousands of dollars. Get the point? Okay? Just simple go out there and Google and say, hey, can I open a bank account in Mexico? Or where can I open a bank account? What is required? And then you're going to see certain kinds of documents like, okay, well, perhaps I should get the passport then, or perhaps I should join the economic community of West African nations, okay? Get the ECOWAS passport, right? Because it gives me access to be able to open a bank account in the Eco Bank of South Africa, that kind of a thing, right? What does it hurt you? Does it hurt? Does it hurt? Does it hurt you to transfer $150 from one of your accounts right now, open an international bank account, and be like, now I've got that? Again, we're just still at step one. We're not asking what you're going to do with this bank account yet. But what does it do? It has literally expanded your footprint. Yes? No taxes on cryptocurrency in Puerto Rico. So for those of you who are out there getting all that Doge money, okay, you might want to consider you might want to consider relocating. Okay. Yeah, I got 300% in the last Doge pump. Ethereum and Bitcoin are going nuts right now. I got in last year in March, where, started buying Ethereum at about $300. Copped me quite a few of those. Copped me a few Bitcoin, and it's excellent right now. Okay, so understanding what are the different tax laws that are out there? Because here is where the provincial mindset comes in. If you don't really understand that there are ways of getting benefit, that if you are just landlocked within the United States, within the laws of the United States, and you just think that's all there is to the world, I cannot do certain things in order to minimize my tax burden. I cannot try to find other places where I am more welcome, where I'm treated better, where my funds, my investment is more needed, wanted, where I can get better returns, so on and so forth. That is the provincial mindset that we're talking about, right? But I haven't gone all the way there yet. I'm just saying, go open up a bank account. And that should not be scary in 2021, because we know that it's as easy as a click, transfer the money over there. And you can wake up every morning when you check this bank account. You can also check your bank account in Lithuania or in Georgia or in Wales or something, right? What does this begin to do? Can you guys already see? Okay, let me get a one in the chat if you already see the difference in your mind when you open up your Wells Fargo bank account and then you also open up your account in the Bank of Georgia, right? Do you know the difference it already starts to make in your mind? The way you look at yourself, the way you look at opportunities. Is that not going to open up? Is that not the first crack in a rabbit hole that you're going to start going down towards? Okay, you might start asking things like, I wonder, can I invest in Georgia? What is the interest rate that they give you, for example, in savings accounts in Georgia? We know over here, for example, it's 0.0000 nothing, right? You don't get anything. Are there countries where you get more money for putting money in savings accounts? Of course there are. Right? What is the new Singapore? Singapore is already the game is sewn up over there in terms of, capital, right? There's certain places where capital flow towards. Success leaves clues. Capital flows towards those places. Why does capital flow towards those places? Okay. And where are the other places that are competing? Okay. Where are the other places that are competing for capital to flow? Right? So, first step, we're keeping it actionable and simple. We're trying to expand our horizons. We're trying to keep it in a way where you can actually do something about it, not just feel good about it because some guy told you in some book that you need to expand your horizons. Shout out to Jerome in the house. He says, what's good, Ike? So, when you open up that bank account, you're going to start thinking about things like investment. You're going to start thinking about things like the interest rate on the savings. You're going to start thinking of things like, can I start switching between currencies, right? Will it be beneficial? Because let me tell you something, okay? Those billionaire families, they do this. I mean, you already know they do this, right? They don't hold all their money in dollars. And I'm talking about currency now. Obviously, they have other kinds of assets, right? But when it comes to currency, they're constantly holding it in these different kinds, taking advantage of the ebbs and flows in the exchange rates between these. So when tomorrow you start looking, in addition to your Wells Fargo American Bank account, you start looking at your account in Georgia, you're going to start looking, okay, what does this bank have to say about the opportunities I have? Can I buy real estate in Georgia? Can I invest in Georgia? What does it require of me? What paperwork do I have to fill out? You start filling out paperwork all of a sudden, and all of a sudden, you're going to be about 2 inches off the ground vis-a-vis you being locked down in your mindset, vis-a-vis you looking at yourself as competing only locally, because you simply did something like Google, how do I get a bank account in some country? Echo Bank of South Africa, the Pan-African Bank. Look into that, for example, How do I get that? It'll lead you down a good rabbit hole. A good rabbit hole. Exactly. It's okay to be happy. That's a good point. It's kind of like opening your first bank account in the States or making your first investment. It cracks open up this rabbit hole that you're going to then go down, right? And now you feel like you're stuck in this bottle over here called the American banking system, the American tax system, the American investment system, blah, 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 the American currency, and so on and so forth. Well, how about you expand that a little bit, right? The people who have the resources that do this, you think they're doing it because it makes their life harder? You think they're doing it because they're stupid? Money doesn't make you smart, but when you have money, you tend not to want to do stupid things with it. You can hire smart people and they'll do smart things with your money. And one of the things that they do is definitely take it outside and open up the horizons. Okay. And you too can do it because we have global connectivity called the internet. You simply just go and start doing some research. Am I saying it's easy, especially everywhere? No. Some countries have more restrictions, but it's just a question of step by step, paperwork by paperwork. Maybe you're going to be like, you know what? I'm going to get my passport as a result of this, right? Exactly. I just mentioned it. And also Roots Reggae Girl. Oh, Roots Reggae Girl 1. Yeah, she's the first. She's the first Roots Reggae Girl. She says, for me, it was like getting my passport for the first time. Okay? Exactly. You're like, where can I go now? Where can I go? Where can I afford to go? Okay, I'm going to go, move. I'm in the Bay Area. Maybe I'll just fly north to Canada. It's the first start, right? Boom. Got that. Got used to the international flying, so on and so forth. That's the idea. Speaking of Canada, we got Sebastian Ritchie in the house. He says, what's good, Ike? Hope everyone here is well. Yeah, we were talking mad-ish about Canada, but we're gonna tone it down now that you're here. The magic of the tangent, indeed. Yeah, Young Swift, always trying to finesse people out of their money. Okay, so far so good. We're clear on this particular one. Okay, let me go ahead and take a couple of steps back. I know that it is a good pedagogical technique. A good, Dr. Matt would be like, hey, what do you mean pedagogical? Stop it, Ike. It's a good teaching technique to repeat yourself, okay? It's a good teaching technique also to keep things measurable and actionable, and that's what we do over here. Because I could preach for a whole hour talking about expanding your mind in a very kind of expansive way without necessarily even telling you anything, right, about what to do. So we're talking about expanding your horizons. We defined the reasons why. Why am I expanding, and what am I expanding into? Well, expand or die has to do with that evolutionary need to find new pasture, the evolutionary need to go to new orchards where there's lower hanging fruit, where you have exploited too much the resources, the land, the animals in a particular area, and then you need to go out there. Those of us who went out there successfully survived, right? Also, you need to stress yourself. You need to expand things, otherwise they atrophy. That be your bones, your muscles, your immune system, your mind, your skills, your networks, your relationships. You need to push them, otherwise they die, right? And then there's the global connectivity, which makes it such that you cannot afford not to expand anymore, because you can't just stay stuck in your little neighborhood, because you're not just competing with people in your neighborhood anymore. You're competing with China and India and Russia and everyone else out there in the world because of electricity, okay? That's just kind of how it is, okay? Then you need to expel that provincial mindset, and we need to kind of talk about it a little bit, the provincial mindset being the narrow mindset, because you need to find global solutions and recognize global patterns, because that'll keep you out of that being stuck in some kind of blame kind of game, blame mechanism. Oh, it was your fault. It's because of this person, because of that, because of blah. It's like, oh, when you leave your Baptist Black American church, and you go to the Korean church and you find out that they have the same problems, you're going to be like, how do they solve it? These patterns are global. These patterns are at a higher level. They're not down here necessarily related to just the particulars of my context. They're global patterns. Therefore, they're global solutions that I can implement. Okay. And then expanding your targets and your potential and so on and so forth. And we talked also about why, therefore, what are we expanding into? Expand your networks, expand your digital and economic. And that's where we are right now. Okay. Talking about having an online presence and controlling your image also has to do with what we talked about previously, which is about who knows you and not just necessarily who you know. Who knows you? Who knows you? You can know all kinds of people. Doesn't really matter. You can know all kinds of people, but it doesn't really matter. Have an online presence so you can control your image is a way of expanding your horizon as well. Give me a second. Let me go ahead. How's everyone doing? Is this useful? Let me get a 1 in the chat if this is useful, if it is actionable, if you are indeed getting something out of it, if it makes sense that, yes, I can go out there and start researching what it takes to have an international bank account, what it takes to play in foreign currencies, because, hey, if these, big family offices, and family offices just means, the investment arm of rich people, if they can do it, why am I not doing it? They're not doing it because it makes their life harder, it makes their life easier. So, therefore, I need to do it. Because the connectivity, electricity, as I like to call it, gives me the opportunity to do it. Because these people have always been doing it, but it used to be harder to do it. Now it's easier to do it. And every regular Joe Schmo out there can and therefore should do it. Indeed. Another thing about expanding your digital and economic footprint, this one is more of a mental thing, a little bit more abstract. Okay, I give you a solid, really solid, very actionable, simple one that I didn't even tell you why. You just kind of know that it's going to suck you into a particular rabbit hole, which is get an international bank account. And then we talk about, online presence. We've mentioned it before in the previous bullet point. Excuse me. Now, don't just study individuals. Because some people are like, I'm a realtor, okay? Let's say you're a realtor. I'm not. But you're going to study the big realtors in your neighborhood or in the block, in the city. Rather than study, okay, individual realtors, don't even study realtors, go study Coca-Cola, for example. How does Coca-Cola market itself? What does Coca-Cola do? Go study someone like Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway. Right? This is a little bit more on the abstract level where people might start being like, what am I going to get out of it? I get it. This is a little bit, you might not be able to hold the ball on this one. But to the degree to which you're doing something, you need to understand that similar to what we talk about expanding the network and rubbing shoulders with different kinds of people so that because you cannot help but copy them, you need to understand that rather than that studying just individuals is a way of keeping your mindset narrow. Rather, study companies, study non-governmental organizations, just even study cultures, study countries, right? Be like, how has Sweden or why is Switzerland unique amongst nations? How have the Scandinavian countries begun to, how do they set themselves up in the way they set themselves up? Okay. High level, again, similar to what Dr. Mad said, okay. You want the breadth, which is the different kinds, rather than just study realtors. You want to also study beverage producers like Coca-Cola and so on and so forth, right? But you also want to study them at high levels. Like, I'm going to study Coca-Cola. Hey, I'm going to study a whole country, right? I'm going to look at it because it just changes the way that I view the actions that I'm taking. Because remember, you're going to find global patterns. You're going to find that we are all human beings and the same problems will manifest themselves on all the different levels. And the same kinds of solutions that will work for you as an individual in your little street corner might have also been implemented in China as a whole, for example, right? And I believe I see a super chat. Shout out to you for the $5 super chat, Sebastian. Canadian dollars in the house. Exactly. Exactly. Mr. Untouchable. Study the actions and behaviors of billionaires. Yeah. Don't be discouraged or don't think that they're doing anything. Look, these are not super saiyans, okay? They're just regular human beings like you and me solving the human problems. However, having more resources to solve them, having more options to solve it. So they've explored more options than you, right? Because they have more resources. So you can just simply go, this is how Peter Thiel, the billionaire, solved these particular problems, which is ubiquitous in my life, the life of my family, the life of my church, the life of my organizations. These problems manifest themselves everywhere. How does a billionaire solve it? How does Coca-Cola solve it? How does Sweden solve it? Right? Yeah, Young Swift. We know you're like Super Saiyan Blue or whatever it is. Ultra Saiyan with Ultra Instinct. Indeed, ladies and gentlemen. And those MBA types call it case studies, but they're boring. Don't do it in a boring way, okay? Don't be a boring MBA. So, expand your geographic footprint is the, shall I say, last aspect of this. This is the one that is indeed most directly related to this statement. The statement being expand your horizons, right? Expand your horizons. Expand your horizons. The geographical footprint. What does this mean? The first thing you should do, because here's something that I tend to find that people who love to travel, there are some people who love to travel, but they've never been to the local hill, the local mountain range, the local forest. Let me get a one if you know what I mean, if you know of these kinds of people. They want to go to Japan. They want to go to this place, to that place, as though they were going to be refreshed and become something new. But they haven't gone to the local trail. They don't know what the local flora and fauna, as they say. They don't know the kinds of local crops that grow in their neighborhood and the local wildlife. But they want to go on a safari. They want to go to the Serengeti. They want to go to Africa to look at antelopes and lions and stuff, but they don't know the local animals. If that happens to you, then you know you have a certain thing that it's a form of escapism, okay, which you got to check in yourself. In other words, you need to stop, use our techniques of meditation, right? Right? You're going to feel the incongruency. I'm not going to make this a meditation video. Go and check the meditation playlist. We have over 10 videos there now, and we'll continue to make more and more about how to meditate, why to meditate, different techniques, and so on and so forth. But you're going to feel that incongruency as to, why don't I know the local wildlife? Why don't I know all the local grasses around here? But I'm constantly trying to go study stuff in Turkey, supposedly study it or whatever. It's like, work that through, in other words, feeling wise, dwell with that feeling, answer the question, and you'll see that it was some kind of escapism. Now, you're not really trying to study anything. You're just trying to run away from yourself, but you'll never run away from yourself because wherever you go, there you are, right? But the point is, the first thing to do in order to begin to get the benefits of expanding, number one, this is easier to do. We don't want any excuses because guess what? If I tell you to get a passport now and travel, you're going to be like, well, it's expensive and COVID and, well, okay, stop. Okay, great. All right. That little local dam, the local reservoir, those places around your area, wherever it may be. How about you go there? How about you go to the outskirts of your little neighborhood? Okay, you live in Northern California in the Bay Area, go to one of these red areas. California is generally blue, right? But massive red areas between the blue centers, right? Los Angeles, very blue. San Francisco, very blue. Majority in between is quite red. How about you go to these other, Central California cities? Okay, how about you just go city to city to city? Okay, staying in little bed and breakfast as you go. Like you're gonna go from San Francisco to Los Angeles, but you stop in like 3 different spots. Stay there for a couple of days. Look around, okay? Talk to the people, so on and so forth. Why don't you do that first before you make excuses as to why you can't go to Japan yet? This will have all the benefits still. You will get out of the provincial mindset simply by going up and down the coast of wherever you are or going through West Texas or wherever it may be, wherever you live. Okay, if you're interested in going to the safari, well, how about your local wildlife? How about learning something about the kinds of trees that grow in your neighborhood, the kinds of plants, so on and so forth? Very low barrier to entry. It'll have the same kinds of effects, and it'll even pull you more and more to get more benefit out of when you make that leap across a pond, for example, right? So I think that this one is quite key here. This one is quite key. Exactly, Sebastian. Exactly. Ba-da-ba-bow. Sebastian says, Ike is talking about a brilliant strategy. RE, traveling the cities, the opportunities, the people. So much is out there to offer. Okay. I remember more than a couple of years ago, about 8 years ago, my bandmates, because I'm in a band. And these are of the kind of like, I like to travel. I can't wait till we go on tour internationally and so on and so forth. But I had to introduce them to the local mountains. Like California has beautiful mountain ranges. Southern California has higher mountain ranges than Northern California, but all kinds of great mountain ranges over here. Okay. But I had to introduce them to be like, hey, you see that mountain over there? You could just get in your car and just head north, right? Yeah. You need snow chains. Yes. We'll go to Walmart. We're going to buy some snow chains. We'll put it on our tire. We're going to drive up north. We're going to go to that mountain. We're going to experience the snow. We're going to experience certain kinds of wildlife. We're going to see the rocks and this and that. They never did that. They grew up in California. I flew over from Nigeria to New York and then from New York to California. I had to show them their backyard. Oh, there is a train system going from east to west, from San Bernardino County to Los Angeles County. Have you guys ever used that train and go from city to city to city? Oh, no, we never did that. I had to introduce them to, hey, you buy a ticket, okay, you get on the train and you go through. And did you know about the subway system in LA and how you can go from North Hollywood to this and that and look at these different kinds of places? Oh, no, we never did that. But they can't wait to, travel. Okay? The world is around you, right here, right in front of you. Go ahead and explore it, okay? None of these excuses, because that's escapism and fantasy world. You're literally being delusional, okay? If you think that, I just need to, you can get it. You can get it. I don't have to browbeat you to death for you to see the kind of weird mind trick you're playing on yourself. where you're like, I don't know what's in my backyard, but somebody told me that I need to go to Norway. If I don't go to Norway, I don't feel complete. Yeah. You're being a big baby, and it doesn't make any sense. You already know it doesn't make any sense, but I'm just gonna be the person that makes sure that you don't get away with that crap. You're not gonna get away with crap like that over here. You're not gonna be talking nonsense when you don't know your backyard. Go to your backyard, expand your mind, expand your horizons, your geographical horizons in this particular sense, quite literally, because it comes along with the benefits which we just talked about. You're going to get out of the provincial mindset, and so on and so on and so on. Shout out to another $5 super chat that I think I spotted. Let's see. John Guillory, thank you very much. Says, thanks, Ike, for opening my eyes. Yes, get in that Nissan Miata. Or is it a Toyota Miata? Whatever it is. Get in that moped, get in something, get in a bus, get in the train, look around, grab a map, be like, hey, I live over here. I would love to travel, but what's that little lake over there? I've always seen that lake in the Google Maps out of the corner of my eye whenever I'm driving to work back in the days when we used to drive to work. What is that lake? I'm going to go over there and I'm going to explore that lake. I'm going to go over there and I'm going to explore that dam. I'm going to take my fishing pole. I'm going to learn how to fish over there. I am going to go up to the mountains over here. I'm going to check out this hill. I'm going to go on deep east just go east and find that small town. There's this town called Licorice. I wonder why it's called Licorice. Type it, Licorice. Oh, it's got this, and the other. I can stay over here in this place for $50 a night. I got $50 a night. Let's go over there and let's stay in Licorice and explore it over the day. Indeed. It is that simple. So, this one, okay, before we get lost, okay, we know what we're doing, right? We're trying to expand our horizons, okay? And we're doing it in the way we do things over here, which means you actually do it. We don't just talk about it. It's not some kind of metaphysical thing. It's not some kind of a feel-good thing. Oh, I'm going to expand my mind, man. I need to expand my horizons, man. No, it's like, well, why do I need to do it? Okay, we enumerated the reasons why. We don't want to be narrow-minded and provincial. And not expanding our horizons tends to put us in that kind of a place. We need to compete in a global economy. We need to compete. There's connectivity everywhere, right? And also it is necessary for our sense of life, our sense of adventure, our sense of survival, and so on and so forth, because we have had to go find greener pasture, go find places where there are lower hanging fruit, and so on and so forth. New orchards, right? And how do we do this? We expand our networks. We literally expand our digital footprint, our economic footprint. We are going to go and we're going to open up a bank account in an international place. It's going to suck us into some kind of a rabbit hole, okay? And we're talking about geographical footprint expanding. And people might be like, you know what? Before you get that passport, which you should go get the passport, okay? But before you do that, go explore your little city, your little state, your little county. There's all kinds of things in there. All kinds of people in all kinds of places. All right. And you can reap the benefits. I said travel on foot. That's the second bullet point here. That's a tricky one. Any ideas what I'm trying to say by travel on foot? Let me see. Why Swift? You got a big mouth. You know it's all love though. But any ideas as to what is being said by traveling on foot? What does it do? Have you ever walked somewhere versus driven somewhere? And have you noticed the stark differences between doing those two things? We're animals. Okay? We're animals. And we have come to be and have lived for the longest part of our existence as these animals, doing things in a certain way. Riding in a car is very, very unsatisfactory vis-a-vis how the animal interacts with its environment. The world opens up to those who travel on foot. It is a very different experience. I don't care how often you've driven past down that road. If you just decide to get and walk it, it's like, oh my God. All of a sudden, you notice more, you feel more, you sense more. You literally have your feet on the ground, 10 toes down. This one I can't just simply explain away, but other than to tell you, appeal to your intuition. That is, that you already know what I mean. Okay? The next best thing is to use a bicycle. Right? Okay, let's say, just kind of bicycle around your neighborhood and notice how different it feels. You're like, I've driven down this place many times. Yeah, I knew Bro Truth was going to say something like that. Of course you're going to say that. Because you're a bit of a troll, aren't you? Yeah, don't get shot, okay? Don't go walking in South Central and wearing the wrong colors and stuff. But you know exactly what I'm talking about. Earthing yourself, exactly. All right? Touch the ground even. But maybe you don't have to go that far. Maybe you're not so deep into the meditative practices yet. Okay? But there's something about you actually being there, feeling like you're there when you're actually walking as opposed to when you drive by. It's not even close. This begins to expand your mind and expand your horizons in a different kind of way. It's like you never even explored your local neighborhood. So what I'm saying is expand your geographical horizons, right? But before I go into, travel to Gabon, travel to Gambia, get the passport, I'm like, first things first, explore your local neighborhood. Just move around, drive to these different places. But guess what? Even more local than that is the neighborhood you actually live in right now. Take your shoes out and just walk and notice the difference. Notice the difference. Big difference. You actually have not explored where you are. You don't even really know where you are. We are animals. That's all I got to say about it, right? And the animal has lived its life walking, moving around like that, sensing the environment in that way, feeling like it belongs to the environment in that way, being nurtured by the environment in that way, feeling close to the environment in that way, okay? Now I'm sounding like some kind of a hippie. But if I am saying it, then you know it must make sense because I ain't no kind of hippie, right? So if Ike sees the benefit of walking, right? And if you can intuit the benefit of walking, then there is something real, absolutely, about it. Yeah. Your blood pressure, everything changes. Everything changes with it. It's it's natural, right? Way more natural. You've evolved to do it that way. Okay? It's very, very different. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So get that passport. Okay? That's the last thing I mentioned when it comes to expanding your geography, okay? Some people would be the first thing. But I said no, because I don't want no excuses. Okay? Explore your local territory, walk on foot, then get the passport. All right? Because people talking about trying to see a safari when they don't know the local trees or the local lake or the local dam or any of that kind of stuff is nuts. You're not serious. You're not serious about life. You're fooling yourself, and you talk to people who allow you to talk that bullshit, right? But no, not over here. Because over here, we're interested in doing things. We're interested in actually making these moves. We're not just preaching, to make your head feel good. Like, expand your horizons. Like, no, right? You need to catch yourself. We're all prone to all these kinds of sins, if you will. But what's the point if we're not going to catch ourselves? Like, hey, catch yourself saying things like that. Catch yourself being like, I want to go over to this far-flung place, but I don't know my backyard. See if that makes any sense. And then start doing something right there in your backyard, because you can reap the benefits immediately. Okay, you can reap these benefits about expansion, about not being provincial, by simply moving around. Now, as I do a recap, if anyone wishes to join, bam, we're doing well with time these days. I'm trying to keep these things shorter. Let's do a quick recap, okay? And if you have any questions vis-a-vis the topic, vis-a-vis expansions, why you should expand, how you should expand, what you're expanding into, what the benefits thereof are, and let's talk about it. Let us talk about it. Dr. Thunder. So, expansion. Expand your horizons. All right, we started talking about why this is a cliche. It is a cliche statement that appeals to our sense of life. A cliche statement that appeals to our sense of growth and excitement, a sense of adventure, right? Expansion is life. Life is about accretion, expansion, competition, domination, the use of resources around yourself. The tree takes from the soil, it takes from the sun. Creates hydrocarbons for the storing of energy, and it competes with the other trees around it, right? For the sun and for these resources. So life is about expansion, accretion. And yes, Dr. Thunder, I'm going to define what accretion means. Let's see if I can do it in a fun way. Accretion just means taking, taking onto yourself. It's a certain kind of acquisition, certain kind of use, certain kind of domination. But let's see what let's see what the Google has to say about it. Yes. Let's go ahead and share this definition of accretion, okay? Because I said it's about kind of use and taking, but through a slow process. That's the whole accretion thing, okay? So it says over here, the process of growth and increase typically by gradual accumulation of additional layers, okay? Think about the rings on the tree. This is kind of how life is, just kind of slowly expanding, slowly kind of pushing the other trees out of the way, slowly kind of taking in, slowly kind of using the resources. So expansion is something, expanding our horizons, therefore, is something that is very appealing to us, right? It makes sense to us. It appeals to our sense of, adventure, our sense of life, our sense of excitement. But why should we expand? where we expanded into. What exactly are we expanding? How do we just make this more than just a feel good marketing ploy? Okay. And we say that basically the reasons why have to do with expand or die, because that's kind of how we survive. And then there's global connectivity, global competition, electricity made it such that we were going to get to the point of the internet and everything is connected. You cannot just stay in your local little area. And then you need to expel the provincial mindset. You need to start thinking, oh, well, if I act this way, well, it's acting white. It's acting black. It's no. The more you're able to see different ways of being, the more you're going to see certain universal things that has nothing to do with your little neighborhood, your little problems that you may have. Okay. There are international standards, universal standards of being, universal standards of business, universal standards of competence, universal standards of language fluency that have nothing to do with your black or white bullshit. So grow up, expand, okay? Expanding your targets and potential is the last thing I'm going to say here. And then we'll see what Dr. Thunder has to add. Because with all this kind of expansion of the horizon, what is it going to do for you? The last thing it's going to do is this. There is a statement, and it is true, that you will never achieve any higher than your largest target. If you think $150,000 a month or whatever it is, the parameter it is by which you judge is what you're going for, you're not going to get past that. So make your targets huge. We reviewed the 10X rule before, and we talked about why this is a good thing, because you need more activity than you think you do, and you need a big target in order to propel you to take the actions that you need to take. Plus, now I'm adding to that you will never exceed your biggest goal. So if your goals are based on your provincial, tiny, narrow experience, oh, I never saw anybody like this in the hood. Oh, I didn't see people like me over there and all that kind of whiny crap. Well, then it's on you, especially here when you're in the West in the 21st century. There is no reason why you should not be taking advantage of all this stuff. Take full advantage of it. And this will now expand your targets. When you open up that bank account that we talked about, when you open up that bank account, now you're going to be like, I could also invest in mutual funds over in this European place. How do I get into that? So on and so on and so forth. You get my point, right? Get the point. You get the point. Please let me get a 1 in the chat if you understand how expanding your horizons expands your targets, and how expanding your targets is good for achieving your potential, because you limit your potential a lot, okay? Because when you think that this is where you're at, you're going to just go there and rest. You're going to sit over there. Right? Because that's what you saw around you. That's what you're used to, and so on and so on and so on. But when you expand your networks, when you expand your digital footprint, when you expand your geographical footprint, you're going to be like, oh, this is possible, this is possible, this is possible. I should expand the targets, and then I can do better. How you doing, Dr. Thunder? How's it going? What you got for us?
What's happening, man?
I'm doing very well. I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm getting it in, man. Trying to get my ever-expanding thing happening.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, one thought, like your use of the word provincial, and the suggestion of basically not, I think people have a tendency to try to create their own sort of fiefdom, so they can, kind of be the king of their fiefdom. And the problem is that you're only going to grow as large as the space that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to make the space bigger so that you can grow more.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe the fear is that maybe you won't measure up, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe, the fear of not being able to measure up. But, the way that I describe that this whole thing is, there's no such thing as regional excellence.
Mm-hmm.
right? Especially in a global, in with, you know, with the internet and with the global market, that certainly is the case now. I think it always was true that there's no such thing as regional excellence.
Mm-hmm.
Your region may not be aware of what's happening in the world.
In other words,
that's
you can't be
possible.
like, well, I make a great pasta for Ohio, and it's like,
That's right.
great pasta is great pasta. There's one standard. You can't be like,
That's
oh,
right.
this is good for this particular corner of Ohio. It's like, oh, this is
No.
regionally excellent. It's like, no, great pasta is great pasta worldwide. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. To borrow from Obsidian, the standard is the standard. um, we can think that it's good enough for this area, but then we're not really talking about excellence anymore, right? We're talking about something
Mm-hmm.
else.
Mm-hmm.
So
Indeed.
that's very, yeah, it's very, very interesting conversation.
I'm gonna address
Yeah.
the the question here. Devil's advocate. Devil's advocate from Gabriel says, can expanding horizons be seen as a way to create distraction, especially if you're looking to get more focus narrowed? Okay, so there are multiple parameters or multiple dimensions in this particular construct that you can expand into. Okay, so within the framework of being more narrowed, which I tend to think is more pragmatic one. Okay, let's say for example, you are trying to expand your bank account. Okay, you're trying to expand your, your presence as a business. Okay, basically, let's say you're an electrician. I would say don't go from being an electrician to start looking to get into multi-level marketing or start looking to sell weave on Instagram or being some kind of ambassador of something. It's like, no, expansion in this particular case, pragmatic expansion will be, I'm going to get my certification so that I can do residential electrician work outside of my 9 to 5, right? Such that I can, and then from the network side of things, I'm going to expand my network to talk to these different other people that can give me business, okay? And keep on drilling down into the electrician stuff. You're getting focused, okay? You're focused, but you're expanding, right? And again, different dimensions to be expanded into, right? Doesn't mean spread yourself thin, okay? So you're expanding your network within the electrician kind of business. You're expanding your abilities by drilling down and, do more electrician work, right? And then you're going to get soft skills and you're going to go ahead and hire more people, right? Expansion, 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 while still staying focused, okay? And then the other kinds of expansion, such as, your network of people being diverse so that you can recognize these global standards, for example, right? The standard is the standard. That will not take anything away from your electrician work, right? You now having Korean friends and Jamaican friends and Chinese friends and Black American friends and Nigerian friends will not take anything away from your electrician work, right? You now being able to travel or exploring your neighborhood and also walking up, so on and so forth, right? Does not take anything away from your electrician work. So they need not be opposed to each other. So Gabriel, I would ask, does that address your question? And while Gabriel gives an answer, what do you have to say about Gabriel's question, Dr. Thunder?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a contradiction in terms, right? I understand what it is that he's getting after, but I don't think there's any. I mean, if you think about it like a tree, right? The bigger and taller and girthier a tree gets, more girthy it gets, the deeper the roots.
Mm-hmm.
And without that root system, there's no way that the tree would fall over.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't
Mm-hmm.
do the shallow you can't do the shallow thing, right? You know, you have to do the deep thing. There's no choice, no option.
Exactly. You're trying to narrow. You're trying to be narrowed. That means you okay. You are trying to shoot up. Let's say in your particular analogy of the tree, right? It's like I need narrow focus because I need to grow in this particular dimension. I'm going up, but also you need to shoot roots down, right? And these things are not contradictory whatsoever. Okay, and again, many different dimensions to expand into, and it really is not as complicated or as time consuming as it may seem. Okay, simply going to Google and trying to open up that bank account in Istanbul, for example, is not going to break your back. Right? It's as simple as any other bank account you ever open, perhaps even easier. Right? Simply taking a walk or traveling locally and understanding that kind of a thing, simply trying to have different kinds of friends as opposed to just having one, simply putting yourself out there, having an internet personality, putting yourself out there, controlling your narrative and so on and so forth. This does not stop you from developing your electrician business. As a matter of fact, it is the way to develop your electrician business, right?
Yes.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Thunder and I have a show, as some of you may know. It's called Getting Ish Done with Ike and Dr. Thunder. And on the 25th, is that a Thursday? I believe it is a Thursday. On the 25th of this month, we do it monthly. So far, we do it monthly. We might increase the frequency of the show, but for now, we're doing it monthly. Okay. Last time we talked about sloth, getting over sloth. We keep things even more practical in those shows. Okay. We keep it practical. Why do we keep things practical? Because we don't want room for excuses. Okay. If I just tell you to expand, for example, you can feel good for about an hour and a half and then you can forget about it. But if you say, hey, you know what? I do have to open that bank account. Now, if you don't open the bank account, you know exactly what you did not do. If you choose not to explore your local neighborhood, you know exactly what you did not do. If you choose to keep going within your local, like I only go to the Baptist church, I only have these kinds of friends, you know exactly what you did not do. Right? It's not just a thing of like some kind of amorphous cloud where it's like, oh, fluffy, and therefore I don't know what actions to take and therefore I could completely ignore it. It's like, even if you don't do it, you know exactly what you didn't do. You only have yourself to blame. The barriers to entry are kept low. So I'll give you the last word before I close out, Dr. Thunder. What do you have to say vis-a-vis this topic or anything else that comes to mind?
I'll just say the time of the show, 6:30 Pacific Standard Time, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, and we're trying to make the show about an hour and a half, so it'll be nice and punchy. We'll present for about an hour, and then we'll do questions. We'll take questions for about 30 minutes. So, yeah. But I did also want to say, you were using this analogy about churches, going to different kind of churches, and recognizing that there are similar issues. We all suffer from this disease called humanity, right? So we all have, right? So we're all going to have the same tendencies, and they may have a nuance in different places, different folks, different strokes for different folks and whatnot. But basically, it's going to be the same stuff. And we also know that this idea that, so one of the issues with the idea of multiculturalism is multiculturalism seeks to, it basically compresses. It compresses all of these cultures, right? It says that no matter if something is objectively good or bad, we're going to say if everything is the same, right? And it makes you it removes the opportunity to learn from another culture. To say, you know what, that is really good what they do in the Japanese culture or something. The everyone is so educated, the discipline is so strong, X, Y, and Z. To try to treat everything as if it's the same is a mistake, because then you don't get the opportunity to actually learn from and see if there are things better about the way that other people do it. And it's it shouldn't be it shouldn't be some sort of it shouldn't be some sort of contest. It's not about a competition or contest. It's just saying, hey,
100.
this is better in this culture. This other thing in this other culture is better. Okay, that's fine. Let's see if I can borrow some of these positive ideas and go from there. So
Yep. Easy for you to say, Dr. Thunder. Yeah, I say that to say this. One thing I'm trying to recognize more and more is the differences in psychological types. Easy for you to say it, easy for me to say it. There's certain people for whom things are intuitive, in the sense that we kind of look at things at an abstract level, like, okay, well, it doesn't. In other words, things are not sticky, to use the language I'm recently learning. But for some kinds of people, things are not sticky. You can simply just be like, okay, well, I'm just going to abstract out and look at this particular parameter. It's better over here. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't have to stick to my own people on you get what I'm saying, right? But it's up to people like us, therefore, to kind of say, hey, to kind of repeat and repeat and repeat. And we also have something to learn from the other types as well, right? But I definitely 100% get you in the sense that to say, hey, you know what, look at these people. And you could actually even give it in terms of, you can say why it's that way. Like homogeneity, for example, tends to produce certain cultural outcomes, right? They're all of a certain kind, living in a certain small island. Certain things are going to happen. You don't have to be angry at them because of that, right? It's like, you don't have to be like, oh, but are you saying they're better than me? It's like, but again, I totally 100% agree with you on that. And thanks for stopping by and giving your words of wisdom. Ladies and gentlemen, check out on the 25th, the show, Getting Ish Done with Ike and Dr. Thunder. And we will close out now. I'll drop you off. And let me just go ahead and give a quick recap, okay? To the degree to which that is possible, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Carl Black in the house. Carl Black in the house. You need to expand, okay? Why? Well, we already know why. How? Where? Expand your geographical stuff. Expand your economic presence. Get that bank account. It'll draw you into all kinds of things. It'll draw you into different currencies, different interest rates, different opportunities for investing. Plus, it simply takes you 2 inches off the ground in terms of you being stuck down here. Now that you have this other bank account with, I don't know, only $50 in it or whatever, but it's in a different country, you're simply just going to have a different kind of a way of looking at things, right? It makes sense, ladies and gentlemen. It makes sense. Bam! Thank you, Roots Rock Reggae Girl, for the $10. $10 make you holla. All right. For that, you know what? I'm gonna give you a little acapella before we go out. This is one of my original songs. It's not released. It's called Tell Them. Right? If you know a way for the youth to get a break, my brother, you should tell them. Because in the streets, all they learn is the greed and the force and the rebellion. The stripes in the streets will attest to the strife. By the cold turnpike lays a bloody knife. So if you know a way to put an end to the fight, my brother, you should tell them, right? Let's see here. If you know a way for the youth to get a break, my brother, you should tell them. Because in the streets, all they learn is the greed, the force and the rebellion. Ha. The stripes in the streets will attest to the strife. By the cold turnpike lays a bloody knife. So if you know a way to put an end to the fight, my brother, you should tell them. Hey, From the halls to the fire escape, rusted cages and pendants for sale. Streets are littered where dreams are broken. Let your true words be spoken. Hey, higher, higher and further away. Sail the dreams of the weak and the frail. Walk the path that the mind has chosen. Let your conscience be open. If you know a way for the youth to get a break, my brother, you should tell them. Because in the streets all they learn is the greed, the force and the rebellion. Ha ha. The stripes in the streets will attest to the strife. By the cold turnpike lays a bloody knife. So if you know a way to put an end to the fight, my brother, you should tell them. AI. Ha. Shatta, 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 watch the bullet they must scatter. Hold up the light and spread the vibe with every word you utter. The matter to deliberate is how the youth them suffer. Inebriated off a cup of ignorance and squalor. Initiate the rhythm, put an end to all the schism. Eliminate the venom that infects their daily living. Recuperate the lessons they forgot that they were given. Rejuvenate a brighter vision. If you know a way for the youth to get a break, my brother, you should tell them. Because in the streets all they learn is the greed, the force and the rebellion. Ha, ha. The stripes in the streets will attest to the strife, and by the cold turnpike lays a bloody knife. So if you know a way to put an end to the fight, my brother, you should tell them. Few and far between are times of peace and times of plenty. So frequent are the times that are ruled by grudge and envy. So many gather in their evilous assembly. Now it's trendy to be empty, be filled with iniquity. The double barashati or the semi-automatic. The choices that the ghetto youth are faced with all are tragic. No magic to erase the tragedy or make it vanish. The vultures circle round and take advantage. For there's no time for jokes and games. We're in the midst of the smoke and flames. Know what I'm saying? If you know a way for the youth to get a break, my brother, you should tell them. Ha, ha. Because in the streets all they learn is the greed, the force and the rebellion. The stripes in the streets will attest to the strife. By the cold turnpike lays a bloody knife. So if you know a way to put an end to the fight, my brother, you should tell them.
On the shore, relentless in the war. The legions in our hearts, shed waters in our balls. The spirit and the flesh, the emotions that arrest. The cerebral will contest, propelling the unrest. Preachers and bandits with means underhanded. The teachers pedantic and lack understanding. So sweep out the sand with the broom in your hand. Stand up, make we burn Babylon. Guess I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Cause I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. With the semblance of a blaze, with gratitude and rage, we touch another page with delirious delight, impervious to light. This vitality and might encourages the flight. Preachers and bandits with means underhanded, the teachers pedantic and lack understanding. So sweep out the sand with the broom in your hand. Stand up, make we burn Babylon. Guess I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Guess I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. When the factions in us up, they got the weapon. Many actions fight back give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the wind will fight the battle within. Cause I can give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the wind will fight the battle within. In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment, what's a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what dwells behind the curtain. The face of evil smirking, with that shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, that either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso, cannon could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make me get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. I say, run, come, make me get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make me get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Conditions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners. Go. Run, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. Run for the hills, let the will lead the mind. For living is the thrill with the doubt left behind. Amidst all the wicked, there is beauty to behold. Be fearless and intrepid from the depths of our soul. The hands of the steady cleave the rose from the thorn. The sweat of the weary brings us closer to the dawn. The motion of the wheel brings the light to the mind. Sing be a line, it's divine. Run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make we get it. Calling on your daughters and your sons, they can't forget it. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make we get it. Calling on your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. Run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. Run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your